Hello, good morning, Texas and Louisiana. We are happy to be here today. I know it is so wonderful to come to you on Smart Money Culture TV. What a great thing, a lot going on today. And I am as well moving through here. You know, this is live TV, as Fly Mackey likes to say. We're live, we're live. Yes, so the China has printed a ton of money. Obviously, you can see on this, their Asian stock markets are just going nuts today. You had the Hang Seng, which was up, I think, like nearly 4%. You had the, I'll check them out. I'll run those numbers, but I mean, we're talking like major stock exchanges up over 5%, which is huge for these major stock exchanges. I just went through some of the stuff here on my X account, which, as you know, is what I normally do. So I'm going to share my screen here, and then let's take a look at that as I get things going here. Thanks for joining us. This is the Porter Brothers with the Porter Brothers Show. It is me flying solo today, which is always fun. Let me go ahead and pin this right over here. Okay, yes. Okay, some of my other stuff here. So the Dow, it's interesting because the Dow is flat. NASDAQ is actually down a little bit. Okay, NASDAQ is down, and the Dow, you can see, basically flat. Okay, and again, this is on my X account. Follow me at Networks Manager. The Dow is up about 80 points, which is nothing really. I mean, this is basically flat, right? And we have the Chinese and the other different markets around the world. The Asian markets going absolutely nuts. I'll share that in just 1 second here. Let me just send this. Boom. Okay. So yeah, there's the Dow. Not really getting the stuff, good stuff here. NASDAQ is actually down almost over 1/3%, as you see there. Now, if you look over here, I'll share my Asian markets here. This is my handy dandy chart I like to go by here. The Hang Seng, which is the Chinese stock exchange. I guess it's Hong Kong, but this is the one. This is the big one here. Up 4% today. So again, what that tells me is that China printed up a bunch of money, because what they have going on over there is not good. Okay, they have a lot of they had the big bankruptcy over there, and there's a lot of stuff that's going on over there. And so when you see the market respond like that, that tells you that the Bank of Japan, the Bank of China just printed up a bunch of stuff. My daughter, ha ha ha, puts her little owl on my desk here. So that's we'll remain to see. The thing about when they print up money like that is that what goes up must come down, as I always say. So that's, that remains to see when that is going to pull back. And actually, Matt talked about that a bit earlier today. I will play his piece today because it was so interesting. And that was on the Impact Money Show. Of course, this is the Porter Brothers Show. We're doing 2 shows live in Texas and Louisiana. And, of course, streamed across all of our platforms that we normally stream on. Crypto Cake, shout out to Crypto Cake. We have we're able to reach a lot of people there. So that's the Hang Seng, and of course, and then if you look at Japan, the Shenzhen here, look at this, up 6%, 6% move on their stock market. So they have just flooded. They have flooded the the market with fiat money, and basically stole that money from all of the people. That's how fiat money works. It was interesting. Another thing that we talked about this morning with Matt was that I guess apparently Jerome Powell came on TV and he talked about how it wasn't sustainable the way they're doing things now. And the way they're doing things now, and I've talked about it a little bit here and there, but just so everybody understands, the way that the central banks are operating right now is completely different from the way they've operated in the past. They've always been stealing our money, but now it's on a whole new level. So basically, everybody, of course, you're going to have to pay your income tax, right? And I always tell everyone, I mean, if we want to do things about it, we can do things about it, but don't just go and not pay your taxes, because that's, if we want to have a tea party or something like that, then let's do that. But I'm not saying don't pay your taxes at this time. You're supposed to pay your taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, you're going to be in trouble. So I'm not going to advise you to not do that. Okay. Now, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. I want to say that as well. But what we have here is a situation where the tax means nothing anymore, except for them lowering inflation. So if they weren't worried about lowering inflation, they wouldn't even need to tax anybody, because the tax is completely immaterial to the overall. And I was moving here, so I'm trying to find my good spot where my lighting is good. The tax is immaterial because they don't need it. All they do is they print whatever they want. They print whatever money that they want, they print. And so this is a new system. This is new to the world. It didn't used to be like this, okay? And so now, whatever they want to do, they're pushing this $118 billion bill right now, right? And Trump is obviously definitely opposed this. So pretty interesting to see how it'll pay out, because there is massive, massive payouts for everybody in Congress and everywhere else for this bill. If they approve this bill, they're going to have all kinds of kickbacks. Their friends who they've been working with all these years, these contractors, these military contractors and everything else, are going to get huge contracts. And whether that is a direct payment, they're getting a commission, which is not illegal, okay? You can say what you want about it, but it's not illegal. Or however they're going to get their kickbacks, they're going to enrich their family. However it is, I mean, this is $118 billion, massive amount of money. Okay, but that money, they don't need it from the tax base. They don't need to have taxes in order to pay that. All they do is they print the money, and then they tax you by diluting the dollars that you have. And this is something new. This did not happen before. This is something that's new in the last decades, and we really, really started printing a lot. We've always been doing it, but really gotten out of control early at the turn of the century here, and pretty interesting because, of course, the Federal Reserve started back in 1913. The FBI started in 1908. The Federal Reserve started in 1913, the same year as World War I started the year after, the same year, though, 1913, as the IRS started. And they have been stealing your money ever since. And my job, I've decided, is to get everybody on board, and so you understand what's going on, and so we can learn how to fight back, because this is absolutely it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. So this $118 billion, they're not worried about paying for it, because they're going to take it from you no matter what. And I mean, people need to get their head around the facts of the matter, because we should be organizing and we should be protesting ourselves. Just fresh off the press is the farmers have. I think that the EU has buckled under their pressure, as they should, and their Green Deal or whatever is collapsing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But and everything I say is peaceful, all right? The monetary revolution is a peaceful revolution, okay? But we need to take control back from these people, because they decide they're going to send $118 billion, but they are not going to lose any money. They are going to increase their salaries. They're going to increase their holdings. They're probably getting kickbacks, and their friends are getting contracts and everything else. But they're going to take the money from the people. From you, okay? And that's how they're doing everything, is they're just with this printing of money. And as Matt said this on the show this morning, they know, Jerome Powell said in an interview, he understands that this is not sustainable. So they are just printing and printing and printing and printing and printing more money, and they're just taking the value from you. So it's like I explained it to my 13-year-old daughter. She said, well, what is happening? I mean, it's kind of one of those things where, and you have to tell them like, okay, well, here's what's happening, but don't go to school and tell your teacher he's wrong. Okay, a crazy situation we're in, right? But here's what's happening. If I have $100 and I want to hire somebody in the neighborhood to mow the lawn, maybe I'll be able to pay that kid $1 or $2 to mow the lawn because I have $100 and nobody else has $100, right? But I have $100. And the other people, maybe they have much less, or maybe they don't have $100 to spend, but I have that $100. So then the central bank, not even the government, the central bank, which is a privately owned entity started by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and the Morgans, and they still control it. It's privately held, okay? It's all a facade. They decide that in order to take my money, they want to take my money. They want my $100. They want to use it for different things. And so and they want to distribute it to people, and they want to distribute it around. And so instead of levying a tax on me, which I might say, oh, it's Tea Party time, I'm not paying that, and I'm gonna fire you guys, and I'm gonna vote for somebody else, even if it's on the magic machines, and we'll see how it all plays out. They just print more money. So they're now going to send a $100 bill to everybody in the neighborhood. And all of a sudden, that kid who I wanted to mow my lawn for $1 or $2, well, I mean, he's busy. He's mowing everybody else's lawn for $1 or $2. Okay. Or maybe they're paying him $5, or maybe they're paying him $20. So now I just got diluted. The value that I worked for and the value that I had just got diluted by the central bank, which again, guys, is a privately held institution. And this is how they're levying the tax on us. And this is why they're not worried about the $118 billion. They're not worried about paying for it. They're just going to take it from you exactly how I just explained. They are going to take the money that you have. So let's say, whatever, I just explained it. So, and then they're going to dilute you. So they're just going to print that money up. They're going to send it out. And a lot of the money, people worry about the CBDCs. Guys, 90% of the US dollars are digital already. Our money is already digital. Our money is digital, okay? 90% of the US dollars are already digital, okay? So they're going to mint or print, or however you want to talk about it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to mint it up, and they're going to send that money out, and you're going to feel it. You're going to feel it via the inflation. So we're on a commercial break right now on Smart Money Culture TV on the TVs in Texas. We're still kind of learning our way around how to operate this thing and make it run smoothly. But as soon as that's over, I'm going to play Matt from this morning. Matt did a very good job this morning, as he always does, about talking about these things that are going on, and it was very interesting, and that Impact Morning show. So again, and while we're waiting for that, I am just going to Impact Money is what it is. I'm going to show a couple more things here. Okay, there it is. All right, just have that ready for everybody as we come off of a commercial. So I am going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in these world markets here. Okay, so we have this massive, as I mentioned, massive amount of printing over here. And back on my CNBC tab here that we have. And that's just sending everything flying. I mean, there's a couple. The Nikkei is down a little bit, and then the Nikkei is actually Japan. So I maybe have maybe I have my Asian countries wrong with the Shenzhen. Oil is up. You see, oil is going up. Okay. All of these commodities have been kind of jumping today, but the U.S. stocks are flat. And as I was saying on the show this morning, I firmly believe that they will crash the markets. That's our global boost coin there. One way to participate in the monetary revolution is by participating in blockchains, old blockchains like Global Boost, Bitcoin, Litecoin. Obviously, that's our coin, full disclosure. But if you look at Bitcoin here, it's had a nice run up today. Okay. 1.3%. We are at the lunch hour here on the East Coast. I'm here in the Washington. So that could continue rising. The crypto and the Asian stock markets appear to have caught most of the wind of this money printing. Now, the money printing is totally temporary. And of course, I don't know if we learned how to do it. I don't know if we learned how to do it. The central bank's been doing it. That's their whole scam. That is the scam of the paper money, guys. That's the paper money scam. You work, and then instead of giving you gold or silver or Bitcoin or Litecoin or Global Boost or something that has a finite supply or that is, it can't be inflated, they just give you paper money and then they can inflate it. Not only can they inflate it, but that has serial numbers on it. So if they really want it, and also you think that strip, doesn't mean anything in there? I'm telling you, that strip definitely means something. So basically, they can track that paper money as much as they want, and that should be taken seriously. Okay, we are back on in Texas and Louisiana. So I wanted to play Matt here. Matt from this morning. He did a amazing analysis of everything and a market overview. Really good job. This is Matt Dixon with Eve. And I brought him in here right about, and then we'll go on with this, but here he is. Let me see here, back this up. Okay, I'm here. Let me sometimes you got to go in and out here to have it load for you.
I mean, did you know that
every time that they want
to cover up intellectual property theft,
the markets are going to go down? Okay. Then
Here,
optimism will kick up.
I got along with him great. I'm not sure he loved what I was doing because I was, getting along with him.
I don't think he wants you in the White House, Mr.
No,
President.
he doesn't. The market almost crashed when I won Iowa and New Hampshire. The market went down tremendously. Look, I like President Xi a lot. He was a very good friend of mine during my term.
Well, look, COVID cover-up, intellectual property
when
theft.
COVID came,
the list is long from our number on adversaries. I don't know if he's a friend.
But I got along with him great. I'm not sure he loved what I was doing because I was, getting along with him.
I don't think he wants you in the White House, Mr.
No,
President.
he doesn't. The market almost crashed when I won Iowa and New Hampshire. The market went down tremendously. Look, I like President Xi a lot. He was a very good friend.
I think everybody should hear it because a lot of people think, oh, the market's going to go up if Trump is elected. And I actually disagree. Retail, we could push the market, but I don't think we really do push the market. And I think that if Trump is elected and it looks like he's going to get elected, the markets are going to go down. Then optimism will kick in. Okay. But I think in general, these guys are going to crash the markets. We have a hostile takeover of the civilized world, people. And these guys are big money guys. So we're just coming off of commercials here. And I'm keeping an eye on it in a second over here on Smart Money Culture. And as we do, we're going to bring in Matt with Eve and talk about the markets. But pretty interesting stuff here. Let me just one more clip. I mean, pretty interesting. And then while we're waiting here, I think we're about to come back in over there. I wanted to just show this. Where is this? It's on this tab over here, I think. Let me just check again over here. Okay, we are back. Welcome. Thanks for joining us in Texas and in Louisiana on the Smart Money Culture TV network. We're going to bring in the great Sir Matt Dixon, the great, here with Eve. How are you, Matt?
Good morning. Still got a nasty cold, but I'm pleased to be here. Got some great stuff to share with you.
Being here for sure.
Particularly as you're talking market crashes. So I wasn't expecting that. It's actually amazing how each day you're talking about something that I've already thought about, and it just ties in beautifully. So I'm just going to go straight into presenting the screen. And let's see what you think of this. So hopefully you can see my screen there.
Yes, we can. Black Friday.
So you know the origins of all these black stock market days. So, I mean, did you know that Black Friday is not just about a sales day? It actually originated with the stock market crash back in 1869. So there's a couple of guys who actually designed or set up the stock market crash at the time, and it was a really terrible crash, and that was called Black Friday. So that was back in 1869, as I say. So next big crash, as we all know, next major crash was 1929. And here's a picture of some guy, poor guy, selling his car for $100 because he's lost everything on the stock market. So, obviously that was one of the greatest crashes of all time. We have, and that was Black Tuesday back in 1929. So we had Black Friday in 1869. We had Black Tuesday in 1929. Then we had Black Monday in 1987. And you can see here, the Dow lost 22.61% in a single day's drop. So tremendous. And we can't tell these things in advance. Before it, the market was really riding high. And then all of a sudden, a real massive shock to the market. So we've got to be aware that these things can happen at any time. But there are some warning signs. The next one that you're probably not quite so aware of was Black Wednesday, I think this one was. And this was to do with the UK falling out of the exchange rate mechanism with Europe, the European exchange rate mechanism. So that was a big day for the UK and for Europe.
What year was that?
That was 1992.
Okay.
So this is quite interesting because I'm looking here, and this is not my work. This is just something I'm using to illustrate. The Dow Jones, it originally started in 1896. Obviously, stock markets started before that, but the Dow 30 actually started in 1896. And we can see the rise here to 1929, and you can see the sharp crash move down there in that wave there. And then we've had this long rise from 1932 all the way to today, basically. But along the way, we have had some serious setbacks. So that was the crash of 29. The next probably major crash, and this was actually during my lifetime, I can vaguely remember this, in 1974. There was a very serious stock market crash then to do with an oil crisis there was at the time, and a long drawn-out stock market crash. And that's very typical of the kind of wedge triangle pattern that we have there in a wave 4. So you have this rule of alternation. Wave 2 is always a different waveform than wave 4, or virtually always. And that's what we see. We see a very simple zigzag, ABC zigzag in wave 2. And then wave 4 at the same cycle degree is basically this complex sideways movement during the crash in the early 70s. And when I talk about cycles, I've talked to you about different fractals, like Russian dolls, waves within waves within waves. And we have the big super cycle degree, which can be over more than 100 years, as we see here. And then cycle degree, primary, intermediate, and so on and so on. There's all different degrees, right down to minute degrees. Excuse me. So we watch these cycle degrees within Elliott wave because there are Fibonacci relationships within particular cycles. So, for example, we can see here from 1974, we moved up in a wave 1 in this reddish maroonish color, wave 1, back in wave 2. Then we had wave 3, and wave 3 was exactly 4.236 times wave 1. Now that again is a very important Fibonacci number, 4.236. So I won't go into how you derive them, it's relatively simple, but there are Fibonacci numbers all the way through stock market history. So we can see, as I say, right from the start, now about close to 130 years ago now, these waves and then the Fibonacci relationships that show the terminations of the waves, and we can see projections of where we expect waves to go as well. So this is actually wrong about this, and I can actually clearly see when we look in finer detail why he's wrong at the end of it. But overall, it's actually a really good illustration of stock market, and it looks as though we are in a wave 5 because we can actually see what's called bearish divergence here, where we're basically getting higher highs on the price and lower highs on the RSI. That's telling us that we're moving towards a turning point in the market, which is quite interesting to keep that in mind. So this is looking at the more recent history from 1998, and we see here, and we can actually, delineate the stock markets by crashes and big events. So 2000, we had that dot-com boom and bust, if you remember that. I was certainly lived through that. Yeah. So we had an ABC correction down there, which was quite a serious correction down. And it actually turned out to be a larger flat correction. So we moved down ABC, which is a larger A wave, then ABC up in a larger B wave. That took us to 2007. And then remember the big crash, the 2007 with Goldman Sachs and, all those big names. Massive stock market crash there, where I think the S&P went down to 666, didn't it? So, massive crash there. So in a wave, a big flat wave correction there, taking us to March 2009. Then we started to climb from there. And that's where money printing started, QE, the quantitative easing of money printing. And that's how they...
Yeah, that was... Who was that? Was that Clinton? What year was that? No, Clinton.
That was 2009 was when the QE started.
Obama,
right.
I mean, it's the central bank, but yeah, I was just trying to, in my mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so quite
quantitative easing, they called it. Everyone's like, what is quantitative easing?
Yeah, I mean, as I said the other day, it was started probably 10 years or so earlier by the Japanese. They experimented with it because they were suffering deflation for a long time. They wanted to reflate their economy, and so they started printing money, and that was how the experiment started. So the US took it up in 2009, and obviously Europe and UK and everyone now. It's normal monetary policy now. They basically just print money when they need it. So when you talk about $118 billion spending bill, just means they turn the printing presses on, not literally, but they just print a bit more money.
The tax is not even like everybody's worried about the tax, and I understand we all have to pay the tax, but the tax it's not even working that way anymore. It doesn't matter how much money they bring on tax. The tax is immaterial. Yeah. All the tax is the burn. It helps with them with inflation, but they don't need the tax. They just take it anyway by way of printing the money.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. The Fed chair, Jerome Powell, did an interview the other day after the Fed meeting. He did an interview, and he actually admitted that this financial situation is not sustainable. And for the Fed chair to come out and say that is really quite something. Very, very honest. So that was amazing. He said it's not sustainable. So interestingly, you can see here we're moving up towards, and I think this wave 4 here is actually very much more sideways, and we're pushing up a bit later on than this. That's why I said I don't like his wave count here. Wave 3 is way too small. Wave 3 is nearly always the extended wave. Wave 1 is very rarely the extended wave. So I don't like this final bit of the count. And in fact, it's proven to be wrong now, looking back. So we're moving up. I mean, we're 38,000-ish on the Dow, and we've still probably got higher to go before we top out in this in the final wave. So again, looking at an even shorter time frame here, we can see that we've still got. It's actually again got it. He's got it wrong towards the end because wave 3 was up here somewhere. We're messing about in wave 4. We've still got another wave higher to go, it seems. So, but when that comes, it could be very, very substantial, the correction, because it will be one of those big market crashes. So at the end of one of these big waves, at the end of a big wave 5 and an even bigger wave 3. So we are looking, I say looking forward, I'm not looking forward in a nice way, to there's going to be a major stock market crash in probably not too distant future. But when I say that, this is looking over 100 years of history. So a year or two is neither here nor there.
Right.
So we're probably talking, quite possibly talking 24, 25, 2024, 2025, somewhere around that sort of time frame potentially. So this is just looking at it in the shorter time frame using my wave basis charts that I use. And this is showing that final move up to, we're around that 38,000 mark now, but showing that we still have quite a bit higher to go. So I still believe that the money printing and the probably more importantly, the reduction in interest rates that we will see, I would say 99% certain we will see multiple interest rate falls this year, that will push the stock market higher, because it means monetary policy is easier. There'll be more money in the economy, more to spend on investments, etc. So it will push the markets higher. Here's my own personal chart, excuse me, that I put together again, just showing expectation of higher to go. I think that big move up anyway, they speak for themselves. We have higher to go there, really. And we've actually fallen out of overbought territory on RSI. That was this area here in the green here, showing very much overbought. When RSI goes over 70, it's called overbought. We're actually right down that 60 area. So there's strong potential and likelihood that we'll push higher, because very often you'll see a peak in RSI, then a pullback before a final peak, much even greater peak in RSI would be the final move in the market. So I do think markets, as I said, consistently, the markets are higher to go. Here's the old dollar index that we look at. And, you know, I think we're still in this correction higher. Everybody keeps calling the top of it, but there's no signs at the moment. And in fact, we have here what is called hidden bearish divergence. This is showing when there's higher lows on the price and lower lows on RSI, and it tells you of a continuation. So it's different to normal divergence. This is called hidden bullish divergence. And it told you that from this point here, you expected the dollar index to appreciate, and that's exactly what happened. So some of these indicators, this is actually one of the most predictive indicators there is in terms of stock markets, cryptocurrencies, basically the dollar currencies is very, very predictive. One of the best indicators. Combine it with a couple of others, and you've got some really good analysis tools there.
So run that one just real quick. Run that one by again. So when you have the RSI.
So basically, what you're doing here, this is the price chart up here.
Yep.
So you're connecting, and you don't use the spikes, you use the solid bodies, because RSI is calculated on closing prices for these candles. So basically, when you're seeing higher lows on the price, so you can see I'm connecting the lows, not the highs up here, but the lows down here.
Yep.
So I'm connecting the low here to the low here. So you can see you've got a higher low.
Yep.
And then you connect the very corresponding RSI, the lows here, and you can see the low. So on price, it's going from low to high. On RSI, it's going from high to low. So that's what's called divergence, because they're diverging, going in opposite directions.
Bullish divergence.
But this particular one is called hidden bullish divergence. So it's not that's actually hidden, but it's actually just a different meaning to regular bullish divergence. So this one is telling you of a continuation in this upward trend in price, and you can see that's very precisely what happened. So again, when you combine this with other indicators, you never use one indicator in isolation, but combine it with a couple of others, and you get some really good signals that are very powerful. So just moving on to how this all reflects to our favorite asset. When I say our favorite, I love it because of its limited supply and, you know, the great demand that's building. We've had the retail demand, now we've got institutional demand coming, and people wonder, how can it push higher? Well, they thought that, you know, when it fell back here, how can it push, how can it survive? And yet it did, and and it just keeps surviving and pushing up, because the fundamentals behind it are really solid. So looking at Bitcoin long term, this is one of the wave counts, and I have no reason necessarily not to believe it. But basically, it's telling us we had a wave at 3 up here, a wave 4 correction in ABC correction down, and we're pushing up in a wave 5, which should take us above this wave 3 to new all-time highs. So even the immediate cycle should take us to this grey box above 60,000. When I say immediate, we're still talking maybe months away. And shorter term, I'll just touch on shorter term. It's a different story, but I'm just saying, looking at a longer term picture, we should see some reasonably good highs. We should probably have an initial peak around here, it'll pull back again and then push up again. So nothing moves in a straight line, as we can clearly see. So here is my short-term representation. This is really short-term, so we're just looking at January and February so far of this year. And we can see we had the peak that was the ETF approval peak here, that spike there. And that's actually a very typical candlestick telling us that there's going to be downside to come, and we got some solid downside there. It came down in a very nice ABC wave 4, and then we're pushing up what appears to be a wave 1 up. I think we've had an ABC A down, ABC B up, and we're probably going to push down in a wave C, not much lower, maybe 41-ish area perhaps, before we then push up again, hopefully above this previous high. And my target is 49,900 as an initial target. It could blast through there, but that is a very important Fibonacci extension of the previous waves that we had. So there's a couple of Fibonacci confluences there where different time frames agree together and give us this 49.9 area as the next target. So I think that's a really good open expectation for Bitcoin moving forward. So quite a bit to digest there, especially when we try and think of it in the context of the long-term stock market, what's happened over all this time. But it all fits very, very well into the Elliott wave theory and the Fibonacci extensions.
Pretty interesting. One of the things that's most interesting is these numbers. You talk about the 1 point number and then the 2 point number.
Yeah, there's 1.6, there's 1.382, there's 1.618, and there's 4.236, there's 2.618. All these are Fibonacci numbers. So there's a sequence of Fibonacci numbers, a very simple sequence. You just start with 0, then 1, and add them together. 0 and 1 is 1. So you go 0, 1, 1, then 1 and 1 is 2, then 1 and 2 is 3, then 2 and 3 is 5, and then 5 and 3 is 8. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 55. So this is the Fibonacci sequence of numbers. And then all you have to do is divide one number by the next number to it, and then you get these Fibonacci numbers like 0.618. And the 1.618, the 2.618, the 4.236, and so on. There are all sorts of Fibonacci numbers come out of this. And what's really strange is these appear not only within the stock market, but they actually appear throughout nature, within the growth of trees, within spirals of galaxies, within the patterns on seashells, within the way leaves grow on trees, and so on, so on, so on. There's so many Fibonacci is related to virtually everything in nature, but it was noticed that it also relates to stock market prices and projections of where prices go. Now, It may be, as some say, it could be just a self-fulfilling thing. Everyone believes it, so it happens.
Right.
But it does actually happen, as I say, throughout nature. And it's quite amazing. You wouldn't think of any particular reason why a price might reverse at a particular Fibonacci extension, but it happens. And we can look at the expectation of these things happening, the possibilities and probabilities. And within certain waves, you get a certain projection for wave 2 after wave 1. You get a certain projection for wave 3, which is normally at least minimum 1.618, or the next one would likely be 2.618 and 4.236 and so on. So these, they turn on these levels. It's amazing. And when you relate it to Elliott wave, that's behavioral analysis. That's how people think. That's crowd behavior. Crowd behavior is actually defined by these Fibonacci extension numbers, which again is just amazing, because even the proportions of the human body are actually defined by Fibonacci numbers. It's a study in itself. It's amazing.
It is. It really is amazing. The universe is like that. A lot, I would say. Nature is like that a lot. As we go and study space and everything else, it is quite interesting the way those things work. And like you said, I have often thought that it could be a self-fulfilling prophecy. As you have the different people working on the charts and everything else, but in the end, it doesn't really matter why it happens. If you're able to use it in order to take advantage of it and use it for your gains, then it doesn't really matter. And I had a quick question. I think we're going on to commercials here as well, again on Smart Money Culture TV. So I wanted to thank everybody for joining there. I think we're coming into our. And we are back. Pretty interesting stuff that we have going on there. The truth is, the world operates in numbers, and you hear a lot of what he's talking about there, and that's the way the world works. And I want to welcome back our viewers in Texas and Louisiana. We are back live on your television set there. And let me just get this out. We're about to talk about the Tucker Carlson interview, and I was just as we were playing that, I was able to look at some of the people talking about this. I want to know what you think about the Tucker Carlson interview. I think it's very, very important moment in history. Of course, we are a free country, right? We're supposed to be a free country. We need to keep pushing that forward. You have Tucker Carlson and went over to Russia. I've been to Russia myself. I know how it is. People say, well, how did he get there? Well, he went and got a visa just like everybody else. And the Russian embassy is actually the one that approves your visa. I'm sure the U.S. can have something to say about it as well. But Russia approved his visa. And there's been times in history when that's been easier. Of course, when I had the chance to go to a lot of these places like China and Russia, I hopped on the opportunity because I knew growing up in the time that I did that it wasn't always going to be open. Now, as I was scrolling through, I think that Alex Jones has a very important thought on this. He just fresh off it, and that's that he should immediately release the interview immediately. And this is one of the things I spoke about. We're going to listen to Alex here in a minute. It's one of the things I spoke about with the Julian Assange interview is he never really released the whole thing. He just released like a little bit of it. And he went straight to Trump, and I get it. There's stuff going on, but the people need to hear it. The people needed to hear what Julian Assange had to say in its entirety. And anyway, here's what Alex has.
The biggest newspaper in Germany, Bild, is now reporting that Poland is preparing to go to war with Russia. The UK is reporting that they're preparing to go to war with Russia. So is Sweden. This is full-on escalation to nuclear World War III, Armageddon stuff. And we should be talking to people like Vladimir Putin, just like President Kennedy did during the Cuban Missile Crisis to Khrushchev. But instead, the communication channels have been cut off. So, an emissary from America for world peace, Tucker has gone to Moscow to interview Vladimir Putin. And the globalists are calling him a traitor. No, he's a hero. Those of you starting World War III are treasonous against humanity, and we're going to stop you.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, InfoWars tells you the truth about what's happening.
Tucker, before he went to Europe, in-depth, history-changing. Has Tucker Carlson gotten the big, in-depth, history-changing interview with Vladimir Putin? I know that I talked to Tucker before he went to Europe. He told me he was going to do something very, very exciting. It was going to be huge. Wouldn't say specifically what. Told me he was going to first be going to Turkey. That he'd be gone for 3 weeks. By Newsweek and some other publications is that he did get.
Okay. Anyway, that was fresh out the press. We do now know, of course, that Tucker got the interview with Putin, and I do hope that that he releases it really quickly, because guys, this is so important, and you can hear even the talking heads talk about it. Let me just put here Tucker. The thing about what we have going on with Vladimir Putin is the fact that, guys, look, this is like, we need, just like Alex Jones was just saying, we need these avenues open. We need to know, and I'm going to go to that in just a second, but we need these avenues open. We need to talk to these people. That's why I ran over there to China and ran over to Russia when I had the chance. That's one of the reasons why I've traveled around the world. I used to have a bit more of a closed-minded view, and people were bad and this and that and the other. And I went around the world and I realized that everybody's not bad. There's a lot of bad people out there, but they're not all bad. And for the most part, you have a guy like Putin, President Putin, he is leading his people. He is the leader of his people. And this guy has more nukes than we do. Russia has actually more nuclear weapons than we do. And we have a super wealthy elite, if you want to call them, that wants to cull humanity. They want to kill us. It's like a stated goal. They want to kill us. They want to reduce the human population by billions of people. And what better way than to make their bunkers and to have us all try to kill each other? Okay, you heard Alex just then. Sweden now is talking about going to war with Russia. Now that is Sweden and Russia have a long history of war. I don't know how much of the history that you guys know, but that's a long history of war. Sweden went in there and they took over Russia very barbarically, or however you want to call it, but they killed a lot of them and actually changed, and I don't want to make anybody mad, but a lot of people would say changed the bloodline there in Russia for a long time. And we have basically a mix of Swedish and Russian people that are there now. You have, of course, Poland, one of the strongest countries in Europe, and they're now talking about going to war with Russia. And like here we are, everybody gets boxed in. We have the Ukraine. Nobody really supported that war with the Ukraine, right? I mean, it was obviously pushed by the U.S. and by our administrative state, not us. We didn't want war with Russia, but the administrative state, the deep state, the cabal. Okay, they wanted the war with Russia, and now it appears like they have their wish. And so here we have a chance now to hear from President Putin, and I call on as well, just like Alex Jones did, for Tucker Carlson to release the interview as fast as possible. Of course, the talking heads are going nuts about it. I mean, here is CNN talking about it. You know, they just can't believe what is going on. This is
a
from
massive shakeup in Kyiv coming as Putin is trying to court the MAGA GOP in the United States. In fact, one of the leaders of the MAGA GOP is in Moscow tonight. It's the man you see here with the MAGA leader, Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, possibly there in Moscow to interview Putin, definitely there as a Putin supporting celebrity. Just listen to how Russian state media is breathlessly celebrating his visit.
Independent journalist Tucker Carlson has flown to Russia from the U.S. via Turkey to Vnukovo Airport. He saw Spartacus Ballet at the Bolshoi Theater, had lunch in a nice restaurant, went for a ride around town, rode the subway. He charged his smartphone via a USB port and connected to a fast and...
Sorry, guys. I'm scrolling through as well, looking for
free
news on
Wi-Fi internet.
He charged his phone, although they're knowing the details about the fact that it was during USB port may give him reason to think twice about all of this. But look at them talking about him like a celebrity. Everything he does on camera, breathlessly repeated. Now, it is unclear if an interview between Putin and Carlson will take place, but if it does, it gives Putin a chance to sit down with a big supporter.
It might be worth asking yourself, since it is getting pretty serious, what is this really about? Why do I hate Putin so much? Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that.
I'll actually always remember watching that clip. I was standing in Ukraine 48 hours before the war began there. Well, Carlson then stood by Putin consistently all the way through. And that is why he can go to Moscow now without any fear of being summarily imprisoned. He's a hero. This was Putin's mouthpiece in the United States, somebody who had turned a blind eye to the atrocities committed by Putin because they were happening far away. Once vibrant towns turned to ruins, mass graves with dozens of bodies in the Kyiv suburbs, a theater full of innocent women and children sheltering, bombed, despite the giant world children written on the roof, more than 200,000 Ukrainian soldiers killed or injured. And tonight, Putin is trying to seize on the fact that Zelensky's military appears to be in turmoil, capitalizing on a moment of intense American political dysfunction and intensifying.
So, I mean, she obviously said a lot there. One of the main things she talked about is intense American political dysfunction. And that is absolutely correct, guys. We have a situation here in Washington. We have this $118 billion bill that these guys are just salivating. They cannot believe that they may not be able to get this thing over the line because there's so much pork in that bill. There's so much kickbacks, billions and billions and billions of dollars. You heard Trump talk about it before. $118 billion. You got 3.6 or something like that that's supposed to go to like stopping the Asia, blah, 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 this and that and the other, guys. It's total pork, like going to stop some whatever. And then the kickbacks, just the kickbacks alone. You know, if you make a deal, an arms deal, if you're able to put together an arms deal for, you know, $500 million, $100 million, never mind billions of dollars, you can imagine the finder's fee. You can imagine the commission that you earn on that deal. And guys, that's not illegal. It's not illegal. And so if it's not illegal, you see what they're doing with the stocks. They're trading the stocks and how they're making tons of money on the stocks. So why in the world are they not doing that? So you have our Congress there. And of course, they're working for the central bank anyway. The fact of the matter is that they're going to get the money one way or the other because we have a completely broken system. We have a broken system that just taxes everybody via the printing of the money. But crazy day. I hope that our friend Tucker Carlson releases this interview and releases it very quickly. Let me know what you think. Do you think he should be there? I actually under this post that I posted earlier, someone can find it very quickly. All the times that the mainstream media, here it is right here. Let me share this again. Had interviewed Putin. And look at this. Look at this. Here we go. Right? Here we go. Huh? Here we go. Huh? Craziness. Absolutely craziness. So again, guys, as things go, be careful out there. I do think, of course, they're going to continue pumping these markets. They have to print more money. That's the way they're going to take it from you. I don't know if this bill specifically will be passed. If this one doesn't get passed, they'll start to onesie-twosie them. They're gonna print that money in order to do it. Hey, David, how are you, man?
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for hopping in.
Yeah.
Just about to round things up. How are things going?
Yeah, fantastic, man. I caught the last half of the show. Great job.
Thank you, sir. It's always fun out here. It's great to be on the Smart Money Culture TV network with the Fly Mackey. Always fun to do the Porter Brothers show. And you never know when David's going to pop in if he's not on the show with me. But we had a lot of people coming on here. Make sure, guys, go to Global Boost, get involved. That's Global Boost with a dot between the O and the ST. Get on Booster Live, talk encrypted, peer-to-peer, safely, okay? Not don't have your stuff hacked like Tucker Carlson did. And guys, get involved in the monetary revolution, either at Global Boost or both. At Global Boost and at Cost Metals. Buy gold and silver at cost. Follow us on X and Twitter. David is at Sir David Porter. I am at Networks Manager. Matt Dixon, who we replayed, he always does such a great job with Evay. That's Evay, EVAI_IO on X, and he is MD Trade, Dr. Trade. MD, Matt Dixon, MD Trade. Follow him. David, thanks for hopping on, brother.
Absolutely, man.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.